I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. 5, 4, 3. That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Outta Here podcast, exclusively on the Bloodline Entertainment Network, right here on YouTube. Please go hit that subscribe button. I couldn't think of a better guest than my boy Rob from the Phillies Sports Talk podcast. He is here, and we're going to talk some Philadelphia Phillies. Rob, how are you, brother?
I'm feeling fantastic, man. You know, with opening day less than 2 weeks away,
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
dude, I cannot, can't feel any more excited than what this team, especially the last, been a long time Phillies fan. It's been one hell, not say a hell of a year, but it's just been of a lifetime, just seeing all the great players come and go over the years. But I'm fine. I'm fantastic. Fantastic.
Yes, sir. For the people that may not know you, give the people what they want. How can they find Rob and the Philly Sports Talk podcast?
Well, y'all can follow me on TikTok at Philly Sports 97 because, like I said, we have a lot of. I'm pretty much going to be active over there, posting some updates and stuff like that, and also Instagram as well. Follow me on Twitter at Philly Podcast YT. Check me out on YouTube at the Philly Sports Talk Podcast, and also too one of the co-founders of the All Star Sports Network as well. So check that out over there. So that's me and my buddy Tyler's network that came into fruition of more than a few weeks ago. So we are still growing that. I mean, look, like I said, we'll cover NBA, NFL, WNBA, XFL, the USFL, and that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, and all Phillies, right? Except for the Flyers.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, until Comcast sells, I ain't watching. Rob, let's get to the first topic of the day. This is going to be the fastest 30 minutes of your life. The unknowns of 2023. A hell of a year for the Phillies. Maybe not the way we wanted to end the season, but we have Trey Turner. We have the keys to victory. We just have to put those together. But the unknowns for 2023, let's start with the big one. Bryce Harper. He's not going to play. This is what we know. We don't know exactly when he's going to come back, but what the reports are saying is that he won't be here for the first half of the season. Rob, I got to ask you, who the hell fills in? What do you do if that is what's going to happen?
Well, knowing that the fact he could be back behind the before the All-Star break, knowing that he's going to be the DH, because knowing that, yes, he got the Tommy John surgery, so we might not see back him in right field, I guess, until next year.
Yep.
Rather be safe than sorry. Now, that being said, with the designated hitter spot kind of up for grabs, there's a couple guys that in particular I could see can snag in that.
Let's hear it.
One is Derek Hall.
My man.
I think with Derek Hall, what you're going to get out of him is a lot of times, he does have sometimes swing and miss, but there are moments where, especially if you look at last year, like he's shown to be that kind of guy that can give you that pop and can get on base. I think that's what you want.
Healthy.
And that's the biggest key is to stay healthy, which he has stayed healthy from all of last year.
Yeah.
Another guy I think you can probably implement. I know this may shock some people. I'm going to say Cody Clemens. Now, hear me out on Cody Clemens.
Let's hear it.
No, Cody Clemens, if you look at his frame, he could pop you like 5-10 home runs if you're lucky. But if you need like an on-base machine at the top of the order, Cody Clemens is that kind of guy. You just can slid in right behind Turner, Schwarber, and if you have Cody Clemens at the 3, or if JT's there, have Cody Clemens at the 4, and whoever else is kind of really built behind. So those are my two guys I would like to see in that DH role till Harper comes back.
Now, if you look at it this way, Harper, you cannot fill that, his shoes. No way at all. But there's someone there, hint, hint, Trey Turner, that can take this team, be the captain, put the team on his back and say, you know what? We could do this for half a season. What do you think about that? I mean, Trey Turner, yes, he is in the infield, and he's not known to be the guy like Bryce Harper. Like he's known to be a hell of a player, a respected player, but you don't see that C on his shirt. You don't see that. He plays like a captain, but he's not known to be a captain. I mean, who's in place? Again, we cannot fill the shoes of Harper as a player, but as a motivator, as a personal person in that clubhouse, who's going to step up? Because Rob needs some help there.
He does. Now, I think if you're going to have like a secondary captain, I think it's definitely JT. I think JT has done it all or how long he's ever been in the league. And he's been established being one of the best catchers in baseball. And we've seen a lot of times he has, even without Harper, there was a lot of times you've looked at the last couple of years. Me and Tara talked about this once before in the show.
Yeah.
Every time when Harper went down, I was like, oh, here we go again. This is the same shit once again. But the fact that we were like 33 and something, like less than 20 losses without Harper is like, what? He and I just looked dumbfounded. The fact that we actually played really well. And like I said, we had that next man up mentality, which a lot of times nowadays you don't see that anymore. Yep. And knowing that, look at this roster yet. It's very young. And you also got Bryson Stott, who's your next second baseman.
Yeah.
Now it kind of sucks now than Segura, but I think JT is going to be one of those guys this week where, along with Trey Turner, I think he could really help motivate this club for sure when Harper comes back. Because when Harper comes back, you have three leaders right there. Yeah. Turner, who's good personal friends with Harper, and
good point.
You got JT, who has done it all. Now, granted, yes, before he came to Phillies, well, let's just be real, playing on the sad, lonely, pathetic. That's the Miami Marlins. Sorry, Marlins fans. I'm just being brutally honest.
Yes.
But I really do think that Trey Turner and JT are really going to help these young guys out. Whoever is going to make the roster for sure, and really help this club and become successful.
Yeah. And I think we can get to the next unknown, and that is the starting rotation. As of right now, we know the top three: Nola, Wheeler, and I guess Walker there. The two that I'm concerned about is Suarez and Sanchez. Suarez seems to be injured. It seems like that's the common theme here with players right now. And I think that's going to be the common theme for the season, Rob. I think we have to look at it that way too. I think we have to understand that, yes, we are the team to beat, but what's going to beat us, injuries. And I think that's what we're seeing here with the rotation. Rob, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you got here?
I mean, with the injuries, though, Christopher Sanchez, as much as he had a good short sample size last year, I just don't put much faith in. Look, I'm not saying I hate the young kid, but I can't put my entire faith into him because during spring training, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen. He does at times have problem mechanically. He has just not figured it out, or not consistently figured it out. But the stuff is there for sure. Now with Suarez, look, I think this forearm thing with Suarez, though, I don't think it's really that much of a deal. If it's just like a mild forearm strain, I think you can really, for someone who I can speak from personal experience. Yeah, I've dealt with the forearm strain.
Yeah,
it's not terrible, but it sucks regardless. But once you get up feeling healthy, you got a solid front four in that rotation. Like you said, Wheeler, Walker, Nola, Walker, Suarez. Now the fifth spot is up in the air. There's been talks with Bailey Falter, who kind of 50-50 on it.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe Michael Plasmeyer, who has been pretty decent. Yeah. I like what he brings to the table. Not really flashy stuff, but it's very deceptive. Or, best if it's going to be the case, and you have that, like say if it is Michael Plasmeyer, and then once you have a fully healthy Andrew Painter, we could probably see Andrew Painter that'd be turned to a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, but he might not even make the team. Like, how do we can't count on Painter to make the team, and it's tough. It's tough because then you have to look at this too. And if you're gonna take away my Phillies card as a fan, go ahead. But I just don't know if I can put my faith, my trust into Nola. I think we saw him big time games. He's okay. He's average at best. Big time games. But normal regular season, he's the ace. I just don't know when the time comes to step up, just like the first half of the season. Who's going to step up in place of Harper? I don't know. And I don't know what you do with Nola. I mean, is it just he's Nola, you deal with it, whatever he brings, that's what we want. And then we deal with the big games when we cross that bridge.
In a way, too, you also got Dave Dombrowski, who's known to make some of the under-the-radar type of moves that we may not know about. So, like I said, I mean, if there's any good names at the trade, and there's going to be the trade deadline. So, worst case scenario is if Dave decides to make any kind of moves to help bolster his club. I mean, think about it too. When we took a chance on Amundo Sosa, Brandon Marsh, we fixed these guys. A lot of these teams have given up on these guys, and we had the right coaching staff to fix them, especially having Kevin Long, who I've been a really big fan of for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And even not just from that. I mean, from this time, during with the Mets, seeing what he has done, especially with time with the Nationals, the fact he has a lot of ties with Harper, Trey Turner, and having Bobby Dickerson back. And I talked about this too. Bringing back Bobby Dickerson was the best thing for them because let's be real, letting him go was the biggest mistake they could have done. But regardless, we've seen guys where, they didn't look great defensively, but one name in particular, I know this might ruffle some feathers a little bit, Alec Boehm, who me and my buddy Tyler, we have criticized. I would say criticized, but we've been very harsh on. But ever since after that 3-error game, when he just made that accidental comment, it's like I effing hate this place.
Yep.
The fact that he took accountability and we talked about this too. He used that as a motivator to get better defensively. And we've seen this dude can play good defense.
Yes. When his mind is
in the right spot.
Exactly.
And this kid, look, he may not be jumping off he has a power here, but it's a sneaky power. Something I think he's going to really get into, and which we have seen. But I think, that's really going to really help with this balance up this lineup because most of the time, you only want to have a lineup that's not full of power hitters.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Trey Turner comes into play and same with Alec Boehm with their kind of the styles of hitting.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this team has in store for 2023.
Yeah.
And I really do think, the Phillies will be buyers at the trade deadline, regardless if you're going to give up somebody that may not pan out here. I'm okay with that. I mean, look, the fact that, and one example in particular, we gave up, we took a sacrifice on Sixto Sanchez. Now, granted, who had a bit of an injury history, but it was well worth the sacrifice to get JT. If you look back before the Phillies were never considered for trading JT, there was like 15 or 20 other teams going after JT, and we just snapped it right from under their noses. Yeah. And JT has really become that really. Well, let's be real, one of the better catchers that we have not had since Carlos Ruiz. And I really hate to say it because feels like it's been a lot long since we had a really good catcher, especially the fact he's a 5-tool catcher at that. So you're going to get the best of multiple abilities from JT. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. And we know that there's no price tag that Dom will not look at and say, okay, we need him. So the trade deadline, or the trade market prior to opening day, it seems like it's the right thing to do. It seems like we need somebody else. If it's somebody again, we're going back to the unknowns. Let's talk about center field. If there needs to be somebody there, we were joking around before we started here. I said, Kingery, you laughed your ass off. But I'm being serious. I mean, he has 1 year left on his contract. I think it's time for him to shut up or show up. I just don't know what you do with Marsh because Marsh, yes, he is an everyday starter, but he's not an everyday starter.
Because you gotta help him get him some help out there. And like I said before we started, there was a couple dark horses I've seen. Cody Clemens, because that dude's very versatile, like I said, once I mentioned before, and Jake Cave. Now, Jake Cave, like I said, that might surprise some people. I like what Jake Cave brings to the table in terms of you got a good veteranship. I think he really, really help out, more of some of these guys in the outfield. And Jake Cave, he's got some power. He's got a good, I would say a 5-tool, but he can give you a couple now, especially with the bigger bases.
Yeah.
we'll see. Like, we're going to have guys who could be still in double-digit bases by more than like 10 to 15 bags if you're lucky. But like I said, look, I mean, with Marsh, though, I mean, look, Marsh can give you so much for what he is.
And he's
but I think you have
at best.
Oh, yeah. If you just have an average center fielder, I'm okay with that. Has a good bat, good glove.
Yes.
I'll be happy at the end of the day. But like I said, a lot of times you're going to give some of these guys a day off, and you're going to need refill that bench, which I think that's where Cody Clemens, Josh Harrison, maybe.
Yeah.
And Jake Cave will come into play because those guys,
yeah,
they have been experienced in doing that. So I think that really would help out this bench because let's be real, the last couple of years has not been bad, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the main focus the last 2 years was getting the big time players, Nola getting healthy, Harper there, JT there, finally getting someone for left field, finally getting someone that's average or better than Odubel. I mean, center field, Odubel from Marsh, it's like day and night. But I want to talk about this because we only have 15 minutes left. We could talk about this all night. We could talk about this all day. But Hoskins, I think if any player in the locker room, in the locker room, can do anything, I think it's Hoskins. And you're going to say, dude, we've been over this.
Yeah, I will say I will have my different opinions on that. I think this year, knowing that he's already got avoided arbitration, but this is a make it or break it year for him. Now, like I said, I'm not the type of guy that will hate on Hoskins for by any stretch of the means, but it's just like at some point, it's like we have to get because the first base position has not been great ever since Ryan Howard has left that spot. Yeah. If I'm going to be completely honest, I mean, we went through guys like Tommy Joseph. Darren Ruff, that was not really great. And probably some scrubs. But outside of that, I mean, it's just Hoskins sometimes I'm very 50-50 with him because he's such a streaky player. Like every time when he if he plays well, like it makes us like we've seen these all the times where he just does not look like himself. It just frustrates me. It frustrates me. Now, especially in the postseason, I'm going to give him a pass because he has, let's be real, he has come up with what we really needed the most. But defensively, that worries me. That worries me defensively. I'm sorry. That is just the way that is. From a first baseman's perspective, I cannot stress that enough. If you cannot have a good glove, I mean, at best, if you can give Reese a spot, is probably the DH position.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that's what people think. And I think it's a important thing to realize that Hoskins is 50-50, but we have to look at the contract. We have to realize that this guy is about to show us that he is the first baseman for the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think it's really important to say that, he was really good few games of the World Series, and the NLDS was just amazing to see him really thrive at the game of baseball. I am indifferent. I think Hoskins has something to prove, and I think when you are in this position, everyday life, I mean, when you're at work, when you're at home, you have to realize that this is it. And I think he's going to step up. I want him to step up. I think he's great for Philadelphia. I think he is a Philadelphia Philly deep down inside, but you're right. You're right. We don't know, and that's the unknown.
But let's just say, let's put this hypothetical. If he does well defensively, I say let him stay here for the next few years or so. Well, because I think he's like entering his age 30 season. So I think you got to get you have to get some of that as good years. I think before his age 35 seasons. If you're lucky, at least you can get 4 to 5 good years out of him. But outside of age 35, I think that's where you can upgrade at the first baseman position. But like I said, if Hoskins can do better defensively, and I mean the bat's still good. I mean he still can give you what he can give you. But for me, it's just the defense that I don't say concerns me, but I want to see improvements. But if he can do that, I think he can stay for the next 4 to 5 years at most before you start looking elsewhere for his potential replacement.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left. I want to talk about 2 more things. The first thing is Rob. I think this is really important. Not you, Rob, the coach, Rob. I think it's really important to see what he does next. I think we all know I don't want to bring us back to this moment, but him pulling Wheeler in the 6th inning, I think that's going to haunt us for the rest of our lives. Is this something to be concerned about? I know he's been a coach, not a head coach, for most of his career. I understand that, but now he has the team. He has Trey Turner. He has Harper. I mean, we can go on and on and on with all the players that we signed. This is the year. It might be the year for Hoskins, but I think it's also the year for Rob Thompson to put up or shut up, just because, yes, he is, a friendly coach, but he needs to make some moves, and he needs to make moves not just in game, but also on the paper, on the pen, when the lineup comes up, and you have to have a starting lineup that is consistent. I don't know if he can do that. Let's hear it, brother.
I think he can. There's moments where I've seen him actually become, like you said, pulling Wheeler was questionable. Sure. Like to be honest, now which manager has not made that mistake before? I mean,
exactly.
Rob Thompson's not the only one off the hook.
Rob? How can we trust him?
I mean, if like I said, if you can trust him, the way that I see it, like if he can let these guys, now granted, if there's some factors involved, like say if Wheeler was getting knocked around let's go back to that moment for exactly. If Thompson knew, like, yes, I know Wheeler was dealing, but let's just say if Wheeler was getting knocked around in the 6th inning, yeah, that could be understandable. But yes, I mean, like I said, but I think even Thompson himself, yeah, I mean, I think he knew where he made that mistake, but I think, some of these first-time managers, they actually can grow with actually, because like you said, I mean, he took over mid-May, mid-June. Yeah. I could be wrong. Regardless, like he had
over halfway. Yep.
He had a very short sample size. So I mean, it's hard to put the blame on him because he had to dealt. Well, let's be real, which I've already had. Well, let's be real. But the roster, like I said, isn't pretty. But you had, like I said, I was going to give him a pass. But the fact that we played the best baseball under him, it tells me that there's been better communication, which. As much as I gave shit a lot of Nick Castellanos, but I had to give him benefit of the doubt for actually saying something coming out that, there was no communication for Girardi. It's like, yep, that's one of my biggest red flag. That's because, like, for someone's been around the game for over a decade and still currently as an athlete, I know that's one of my biggest red flags. Because if the manager's not going to give you communication or give you any, especially these younger players, a guy like a Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm, not giving the confidence that they need. That's a recipe for a disaster. And I think that's where I think with Thompson, I think he can really take advantage and actually grow as a manager. And I think he can really build up that experience over time. And it's like, I think he's got a really good roster to work with. He's got some really good players to work with.
You know what, Rob? It reminds me of 09, 08. I mean, when Charlie was the coach, he was a player's coach. And that's what players want to play for. I mean, you want someone that's going to be there with you, behind you, patting you on the back and saying, you got this. Like this is what you want out of a coach. I think he has that. I think he has a lot around him too that will help him. Yes,
I mean, we had one of the best coaching staffs in the game. Kevin Long, Caleb Cotham. Yep. I mean, Paco Figueroa has done a really good job with these guys. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of guys that can help him grow as a manager. Like it's not a one-man game in terms of the manager position. That's why you have a coaching staff. Now, granted, some are better than others in terms of what kind of production you're going to get out of them. Yeah. But the way that we saw the Phillies, the fact one was put on a 90-win season just in that short time frame with the coaching set that we have, who's to say? I've seen people predict us at least 190 plus to almost slow 100s in terms of if everything goes right. Like I said, I mean, I think Rob Thompson can be that guy because let's be real, we have not really had a really good manager. Like I said, since Charlie Manuel, we had not really seen that kind of, I would consider that support and try to really have this coaching staff and come around these guys and build this team, and hopefully win the entire damn thing.
Yeah. Robbie, let's get to the last topic of the night. The Phillies' biggest concern, in your opinion. What is the biggest concern? And let's not say Harper, because that's the number one concern. We get that. But other than that, I mean, we're not really talking about the bullpen. I feel like we're talking about
that would have been the biggest concern about a couple of years ago, but that's a whole different. That's all in the past. But my biggest concern is Nick Castellanos. That's my biggest concern right now. Can he bounce back to be what he was in Cincinnati? That remains to be seen. Because right now, granted, yes, he has made some game-saving plays, even though with the bat, has been fucking atrocious, and it's really looking like, but like if he can't really bounce back, I'm sorry, I think we're going to have to find a way to flip him or someone at the trade deadline, because I think, I don't really think he's that really bad of a player, but sometimes like that, whatever his mind is at.
Well, it's his attitude too.
Yeah, and his attitude as well, which is my biggest issue as well. And I did want to say Schwarber, but Schwarber just, that's a whole. I mean, Schwarber just blew. That's not my biggest concern, but
No.
I mean,
No.
but Nick Castellanos is my number one concern. Knowing that when Harper comes back, he's pretty much going to be. I think he's definitely going to be the DH.
Yeah,
which we have seen at times where when Harper was in the right field and Castellanos at the DH spot, yeah, we saw some decent things out of Castellanos as a DH.
Yeah.
So
when he wasn't playing every day,
exactly. He's not that time, but he's not that. Well, I won't say he's not the same player as he used to be during his time with the Tigers and Cincinnati. And let's be real, he's also playing another hitter friendly ballpark outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah,
but the way you should, because like when we first brought him in, I'm thinking to myself, like, he's got to have at least replicate what he had in down Cincinnati. That was not the case. And that was really frustrating. That we signed this guy to a 5-year, $100 million deal, and that's kind of like I said, I'll say, it's just only 1 year. But if he fails this year, I think we could all say that was a bad deal waiting to happen. So
yeah, I think for me, as much as I want Hoskins to perform, and I think he really will perform, I think that's what you do when it's when it's the contract year, when you have 1 year left. I think for me, that's the biggest thing is Hoskins, just because if he's not performing well, that's a void that I think is still to this day before, we make a trade. I think that's the issue, because if he does not perform well, that's the question. Do you bring in Derek Hall? Do you move Bohm over? Do you do something with Trey Turner? I mean, for the outfield, we know who's out there. And if Castellano cannot play, we have someone there to fill in that position. I don't know what you do with Hoskins, or I don't know what happens if Hoskins doesn't perform well. I don't know what you do. That's my biggest concern.
Oh yeah, that's a good point as well. I think another this too.
Infield, Rob.
To actually add to that point as well, which I would say for me, Hoskins is not the biggest concern, but I do think Hoskins is going to have a really good bounce back year defensively. Because like I said, but if he can stay, not be a streaky hitter and become, let's be real, what he was. I mean, look, yes, granted, it was a short sample size. I think when he came up in 2018, wherever he came up.
Yeah.
Let's bring that back. If Hoskins can bring back what he was in 2017, 2018, and had that home run hit streak, and also know how to get on base, which he does with this team, know how to get on base well, stuff like that. But I don't think Hoskins for me is one of the biggest concerns. I think he's going to find a way to bounce back defensively. I think that's the kind of player he is.
So you're saying Nick? That's your biggest.
Nick is right now is it should be like the biggest picture, I should say, looking at if you're a Phillies fan, because I think we have guys. I mean, look, we see Schwarber kind of working on some stuff and kind of improve on. Now, granted, yes, the batting average, wasn't really there. But I mean, nowadays, like, who cares about batting averages nowadays? Even though that season was really weird with Schwarber, having 40 almost popping 50 homers, driving over 100 runs with a sub 200 batting or sub 220 batting average. Regardless, I think Hoskins, like I said, if he does perform well, I mean, he deserves a really decent extension. Now, like I said, Nick Castellanos, like I said, with that swing and whatever, like I said, that attitude and that where his approach is, it's frustrating to a lot of people, especially to people who actually have been around the game for so long. And I know it's as stupid as it sounds, it's with the way that I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to call it how you see it. Streets, my brother, brought up a great point. He's working with a new hitting coach. Maybe that's something, Rob. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't think what hitting coaches he's been working with, but Kevin Long, and I like this kind of the philosophy that Kevin Long is. It's like, trying not to focus on hit the ball out of the ballpark, but just try to learn how to use all parts of the field. Yeah. No, knowing that Castellanos is primarily an opposite field type of hitter, but at some point we've seen Bohm had success under Kevin Long. We've seen most of these guys in this lineup have success.
Yeah.
Except for Nick. For some reason, I think something's not clicking between him and Kevin Long. I don't think it's Kevin. Like I said, I think that might be his attitude or the way his work ethic.
Yeah.
Sometimes we seem MLB players nowadays are just flat out lazy. I really hate to say that.
Yeah.
But, I think Nick Castellanos is like, especially when he put that height, for me, I didn't really take that seriously because I knew if he's still going to be the same, I say just cut your ties with him and just unfortunately eat. Luckily, this league is not a salary cap league, so you can pretty much just eat the contract for what it is.
Yeah.
And if you can get some decent value, out of him, so be it. And get it out of our hair.
Yeah.
No, I know that's, I'm just, like I said, I'm just calling it how I see it and, kind of predicting if that's the case.
Yeah, I hear it. Rob, it's been an honor and a privilege. Thank you for coming on the first episode of the Outta Here podcast. Give the people what they want, Rob. How can they find you?
Like I said, you can follow me on right now. You can check me on the Philly Sports Talk podcast. I'll be live later in 3 hours from now for the XFL between the Houston Roughnecks and the Seattle Sea Dragons. And check out the All-Star Sports Network as well. Because like I said, we got some good group of content creators over there, working out with other people. But yeah, if you like XFL, USFL, NBA, WNBA, NFL, MLB kind of type of content, that's kind of my channel. And it's actually ironic though, even though as my name sounds, I actually cover other teams as well. I do out of market sports as well in terms of giving because majority of the viewers are like other Cubs fans and stuff like that. So I got to give them what they want. And so we got a lot of work coming up as well.
There you go, buddy. Again, thank you for coming on.
Not a problem.
This has been the Outta Here podcast exclusively on the Bloodline Entertainment Network. Until next week, peace.